Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on the channel. Today is the preview of the big one for many people, the Hell of the North, Paris-Roubaix, the 119th edition of the race. And as always, I'm joined by Mr. Critical himself, Ewan. And last year, of course, we saw a podium, three debutants, and yeah, what an extraordinary edition of the race it was last year.
Exactly. Not only was it extraordinary for the fact that we had three debutantes, but it was, first of all, in October due to the COVID protocol in the north of France. And also, the race was covered in very disgustingly wet conditions with the mud and so forth. And for many viewers, it was one of the most spectacular Roubaix of all time, culminating in Colbrelli taking the win in the European Champions jersey. Sadly, he can't be here due to cardiac problems at the moment, but we're guaranteed a new victor of Roubaix. Which one will tame l'Enfer du Nord?
So anyways, Ewan, without further ado, what awaits the riders on the 2022 Paris-Roubaix?
Well, despite this race's name of Paris-Roubaix, we don't start in Paris, we start in Compiègne, which is slightly outside of Paris. The opening 100 kilometers will be a huge battle to get in the breakaway. We've seen breakaways do very well at this race in the past. Florian Wurtmeersch last year came in second place after breaking away early on the stage. Matt Hayman won this race back in 2016 by being in the early breakaway. And this year, I'm sure we will see a fierce fight to get in the breakaway that will unfold in the first 100 kilometers. Once we cross the line officially into Le Nord of France with 161k to go, we will have our first of 30 cobble sections. This one will be Troisville. After this, we weave our way around the Schelde River that we've been navigating around for the past couple of weeks in Flanders to make our way around some of these narrow, nasty cobble road avenues of northern France. The most iconic of these sectors will be the Trouée d'Amberg, which will come at roughly 95 to 100 kilometers to go. We'll see the Pod d'Hainaut, the huge old mines that will guide the riders into what is known as the informal opening of the race. It's the first 5-star sector or black sector, meaning that it is one of the toughest of the day. It's going to be hellish for the riders, and this will be the gateway to the action. After this, the next notable 5-star sector will come at 50 kilometers to go at Mons-en-Pervel, which is 3 kilometers in length. And the final 5-star sector will come at the Carrefour de l'Arbre with roughly 16 kilometers to go. This will be a decisive point in this race where we'll see some race-defining moves, maybe some splits or some riders almost coming down. But after that, well, there's only 3 pretty easy sectors to go in the Gruson, Willems, and in the city center sector of Roubaix, which doesn't really count. It is just a cobble sector that I'm sure your grandmother could ride. After that, we head on to the Roubaix Velodrome, where we take 1.5 laps of the iconic velodrome there. And after that, well, somebody will have their arms in the air and will be proclaimed the champion of Paris-Roubaix. They'll have their own cobblestone trophy and a shower named after them at the Roubaix Velodrome.
So anyways, Ewan, it's going to be a fascinating race, we hope, again. And this year's edition, we have plenty of winners on the start list, but it is not a former winner that is the name that many people are talking about. Is of course, last year's podium finisher, Mathieu van der Poel, who has already won Tour of Flanders this year, looking to do the impressive double that we've seen riders such as Tom Bonen and Fabio Cancellara do in yesteryear, and potentially he can do it again. Do you think Mathieu van der Poel is the favorite for this year's edition, and how do you see him squaring up in terms of, well, winning the race potentially?
I think Mathieu van der Poel is the favorite for Paris-Roubaix 2022. Unlike last year, where we questioned his form coming into this race, I think this year we have a better idea of where it is. Winning Dwars door Vlaanderen, winning the Ronde van Vlaanderen, riding well at Amstel Gold Race. Yes, he came fourth, but in the circumstances, he seemed to be one of the strongest riders in that race. And I think coming into Roubaix with his 3rd place last year, he proved that he can challenge in Roubaix, which is incredibly important for a race that values expertise and experience on the cobbles. Yes, last year was an anomaly with 3 debutants on the podium, but looking back in history, when it's been in its normal April slot, that's when these experienced riders seem to thrive. Van der Poel is looking very strong on the flatlands. He knows how to navigate these cobblestones, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is up there. But I think the problem here that we've noticed over the past couple of weeks from Dwars door, and particularly at Amstel Gold as well, is that people keep on looking at him. People know that he's going to be the strongest in the race potentially. So they look upon him to do a lot of the work on his own. His teammates are good. Gianni Vermees, Julien Vermotes, Sylvain Dillier, who's finished at the podium here in the past. They're strong, but they're not strong enough to be there in a finale like you're going to see with Ineos or Jumbo-Visma. So he is really on his own and fighting against what could be a whole chasing group or Tête de la Course all staring at him, wondering what his next move is going to be. That makes it far harder to attack sneakily on the sections in between the cobbles. So it's going to be difficult for him. However, with Wout van Aert here as well, I mean, the way those two kind of look at each other and thrive in each other's competition, that could change the dynamic. We haven't seen Van Aert and Van der Poel go head-to-head since San Remo, really. So that could really change the dynamic that we've been seeing over Flanders period so far. But nevertheless, Van der Poel, I would say, is on track for a podium finish at Roubaix.
Well, you said it there, Wout van Aert. He's going to be coming back in action after his COVID break, unfortunately for everyone. And do you think Wout van Aert could potentially be a protagonist here? As you said, we've seen so many great battles between them in cyclocross and even on the World Tour level. But it's just his form might be quite hampered after this. We saw plenty of riders last year after they had COVID. They were struggling to get back into it. So do you think Wout van Aert will even be up here? His record's not great at Paris-Roubaix either.
Yeah, he rode a strange race last year in 2019. His race was scarred by crashes. 2018, he had another problem there after looking very, very strong indeed. So Wout van Aert doesn't have the best of luck when it comes to this part of France, it seems. Something has gone wrong on every edition, really. And this year, maybe the bad luck is his run-up with COVID, of course, and with illness that's surrounding that. We're going to assume he's going to be strong enough to start, but I think his team doctors are saying that he's not necessarily going to be 100% on the start line, which is going to be interesting. I don't think it's the best sort of way to hype up your rider. But Wout van Aert, he does have at least one top 10 in this race. We know he's the kind of guy who could be up here, especially team place him in a good place. It could be interesting to see the dynamic with him involved. I just don't think Wout van Aert will win this race, if I'm 100% honest. The COVID problems and his run of bad luck in Roubaix and the fact that he has never really cracked that podium or finished in the top 5 does make me question if he could do it this time once we're back into its normal period. And we're going to see a lot of the big favorites and contenders on this list. They would have had a stronger run in riding Amstel Gold, riding the Ronde van Vlaanderen, riding Dwarsdorp, which Wout van Aert has had to miss out on due to health problems. But we'll wait and see. That's the great unknown.
Well, moving on to the next team, you can't really miss them out in a Paris-Roubaix preview. That is, of course, Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl. They won here last time with Philippe Gilbert. Coming here with Casper Asgreen, who's no longer the Tour of Flanders champion, unfortunately. And Ewan Stenek-Stibar, a good card as well. He's been on the podium before. Do you think they could potentially do something here, or is it a very weak Quick-Step team that we have here?
I have no idea how to judge Quick-Step anymore. They've kind of let me down this classic season, as I'm sure they have for many people. We haven't seen them be the fun Quick-Step or the bullying Quick-Step of old. And I think we're going to see that really in Roubaix, which is a race that they've historically done very well in. But they also historically do well in the Ronde van Vlaanderen, and this year they weren't in the top 10. With the start list they have, yes, Stibar and Lampard have good records in this race, finishing in top 10. Seneschal has the capabilities to be up there. These are fairly home roads to him. He's from Cambrai, which is just off of the parcours. But with Asgreen, I do have some issues with his history in this race. He's been here twice, even after finishing second at the Ronde in 2019. On those 2 occasions, including last year, he finished 50th and 68th. And looking at the history books of Paris-Roubaix, we haven't had a champion in 20 years win Roubaix who hasn't finished in the top 20 previously in the race, of course, with the asterisk of Sonny Colbrelli last year, who was a debutant. So for Asgreen, I think that makes it quite difficult to put faith in him, but he's been up there. He's been following the moves pretty smoothly over the past couple of weeks in a lot of the Cobble Classics and the Hilly Classics, but he hasn't shown the strength to make a decisive move like we saw last year, that on the Van Vlaanderen, Adrie Hallebaeke and so forth. So I'm not necessarily confident that Quick-Step are going to come out on top this year.
Yeah, it's a shame to see them struggling, really, the Belgian side. So ubiquitous to success in the monument, cobbled monuments even. But yeah, nevertheless, moving on to a team that well, we've spoken a lot about in the classics. They seem to be on supreme form, already winning a monument this year. Bahrain, victorious, definitely are. And bringing much the same team that we're used to now. Matej Mohoric looking like he's going to be leading the team. But Fred Wright and Jan Tratnik, of course, also been very impressive in this classics campaign. There's no Dylan Turns on the provisional start list. But Ewan, do you think we're going to see another top 10, another top 5 from Bahrain victorious? And yeah, Matej Mohoric doesn't have a good record, but he has had some good result in Ghent-Wevelgem and E3, and of course Milan-San Remo. Different races, of course, but he he could be like finding his confidence here. He's just winning stages last year as well
Yeah.
in the tour, so this could be the next level of Mohoric.
Yeah, if you want to relate a Mohoric victory to what Roubaix could bring, I would suggest Le Bon last year at the Tour de France. It was a flat profile for the most part. The breakaway had some kind of politics between them. People were attacking and so forth. And Mohoric looked to be the strongest and the most tactically intelligent. However, I'm not sure if in Roubaix this year, he hasn't had the best record in this race. As you mentioned, the past 2 races we've seen Mohoric in, he's been poorly placed in the bunch. Yes, he's had teammates in front of him who are vying for the victory in a better position. But I mean, Mohoric, maybe his light is going out in this Spring Classics campaign. Elsewhere on the start list, Heinrich Hausler was phenomenal last year. He's been looking pretty solid in this year's Cobble Classics, as has Fred Wright and Jan Tratnik. Tratnik's finished top 10 in 2 races in the classics and in the top 15 in the other 2 out of the 4 in which he's done. That's phenomenal for a rider like Tratnik. He's powerful. We've seen time trialists do well in these kind of rouleur types. Maybe Tratnik, someone you should place €5 on at your local bookmakers. So either him or Fred Wright both have the kind of physiology and the repertoire to do well on this kind of profile. So maybe they're going to be the chosen sons instead of Mate on this occasion.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to see if that comes into fruition. Jan Tratnik, friend of the channel, of course. But moving on to a team that, well, we spoke about in the last video on the channel, Ineos Grenadiers. And it's no secret that I did a video about Filippo Ganna potentially having the tools to win Paris-Roubaix, maybe not this year or a year next year. But yeah, Ineos Grenadiers are it's a team with half experience and half composed of their 3 neo-pros here. So very interesting setup. Filippo Ganna, Amstel Gold winner, Mikhail Kwiatkowski, Luke Rowe, who's finished up in the top 10 here before, Dylan Van Baal, Elia Viviani for some reason, Ben Turner, of course, who's been very strong this year, Kim Hoyak, the German junior national champion, and of course Magnus Sheffield, who's already won a race this year. Of course, this is already only the provisional. But Ewan, do you think they can be in the mix here and potentially be troubling a podium? They've never won this race, Ineos, of course, and they would love to do it, but they haven't got any Ian Stannard right now. So is this the team that wins them the hell of the North?
I don't know. It's a good Ineos team. It's an interesting one. You mentioned Hajduk, Sheffield, and Turner debuting Roubaix at their very young age. Ben Turner in particular has been looking phenomenal over the past couple of weeks at pretty much every race he started, even at Amstel Gold, and a different kind of profile to the Flemish Classics. He was still doing turns with 40 kilometers to go, which was pretty impressive to see. Also, looking outside of those 3, Dylan van Baarle, he doesn't have the best record in Roubaix, but you can never second guess Dylan van Baarle on a cobble day. Similar with Luke Rowe, he's done well in Roubaix in the past. Last year, he had some antics on Arenberg, which blew up Twitter a wee bit, but this year, maybe he could be a wild card. But Ganna, this is the headline of the team. What is Pipo Ganna going to do? He's the winner of the Paris-Roubaix Espoir back in 2016. Yes, 6 years ago. But we've seen former world time trial champions take the victory. Fabian Cancellara most notably, but we've seen the likes of Wiggins do well here and other sort of time trial engines who can transfer their skills onto the cobblestones. And I'd love to see Ganna do well. I could see it happening where he just disappears on like the middle sector between 2 cobble sectors when it's paved. I could see him just dashing away like we've seen in the past with Peter Sagan and Nicky Terpstra when they went out for victory. So why not for Ganna? But he is, I would say, on this start list, the person who I think is going to capture the most interest because we have no idea how he's going to go.
That's true. Not a great record, but like you said, and we said in the other video, he has to break away solo. He can't bring a Wout van Aert or a Mathieu van der Poel with him to the line. I just don't see him winning that. But speaking of time trial engines, and this is requested by Ewan, Groupama FDJ, and Ewan, they're bringing the only real Swede we can think of, Tobias Ludvigsson, but that's not who you want to talk about. Who do you want to talk about?
No, I'm not going to talk about Tobias Ludvigsson. Instead, I'm going to talk about Stefan Kung, who's coming here from Switzerland, the reigning European time trial champion. If you're looking at people who've had a really good classics campaign almost under the radar, Stefan Kung's your man. Third at Ede Harderbeker, sixth at Dwars door Vlaanderen, fifth at the Ronde van Vlaanderen, eighth at Amstel Gold. The only race he didn't finish in top 10 in since finishing Paris-Nice was Gent-Wevelgem, which ended in a sprint for the minor placings. So Stefan Kung has looked very, very good, particularly when he's working for other teammates. We saw it at the Ronde. We saw it at against Wevelgem. I just think Stefan Kung's got everything it takes to do well on a profile like this. He's finished in 11th place before at Roubaix in 2019. I think he's maturing into what looks to be a very, very good classics rider, and he's definitely going to roll with the punches. On that stage that Wout van Aert and Primož Roglic had that crisis on in Paris-Nice, he was sixth on that stage. That was a tactically challenging day in cold conditions where it was attritional. Roubaix is a very, very attritional race, and I'm sure Stefan Kung is going to be in the mix on that kind of day. Groupama have been riding very, very well recently. They're bringing Olivier Legac onto the start list. He's looking very good. Lewis Askey as well, who's a fascinating British rider who I've seen people back for as a wild card for this race. So Stefan Kung, why not? King Kung for Roubaix, the first Swiss winner since 2013. I can feel it on the cards.
Well, we'll have to see if that optimism is reflected in your predictions. But of course, we can't not mention the man who won Scheldeprijs by not winning in a sprint, by doing it in a solo break. And that is, of course, Alexander Kristoff, a friend of the channel. And let's just hear what he said about Paris-Roubaix last year.
You've already won a Ronde van Vlaanderen and always been competitive in it. But how does that differ from Paris-Roubaix? Because, yeah, there's hills in Ronde van Vlaanderen, but Paris-Roubaix you don't seem to have been as good in Paris-Roubaix, for instance.
Yeah, it's a bit different. I haven't been riding so well on the flat cobbles. I don't know really the reason, but actually last time I was on this bike was in 2018 in Roubaix, and I had a good feeling. So maybe this year something good can happen there. I think our the bike is actually quite good on cobbles, so it's quite smooth. So yeah, I look forward to do the race, and hopefully I have a day of my life.
So Paris-Roubaix is known as this race where, as you said, experience, you get to know it better, and many of the riders are older that win it. And Kristoff, of course, former Ronde van Vlaanderen champion. In that year, he finished 10th at Paris-Roubaix. He's finished 9th before as well. He's got a team at his disposal. There's no Matteo Trentin. There's no one really to fight for the leadership in whatever respects. But Ewan, do you think this could be the year that we get a Norwegian winner of Paris-Roubaix?
Maybe. I mean, I'm pretty optimistic about Kristoff. First solo winner to sell the place in a very, very long time. His team are very, very motivated following that victory, following the Gent-Wevelgem victory with Biniam Girmay. And the start list is good. We've got Dimitri Klaes here. We've got Adrien Petit, Taco van der Hoorn as well. It's a solid team who could really try to mess with other people. I'm sure Taco will try to go in the breakaway and do something special there. And Kristoff's just got to follow the punches and roll with them. However, I mean, his record, yeah, he's got 2 top 10s in the past, but that was almost 10 years ago now. I'm not quite confident he's going to be right in the mix, but Kristoff could certainly be a key protagonist in the way that this race rolls, and it could go under the radar and maybe surprise everybody who's maybe overlooking this Norwegian Galactica.
So, anyways, looking towards other riders who are also coming, Mads Pedersen, of course, with Jasper Stuyven leading Trek Segafredo, but Total Energies is a very interesting team that we don't really have time to speak about, but they've got Nicky Terpstra, former winner, Peter Sagan, former winner, and Anthony Turgis, who's been on good form. Edvald Bosenhagen equally been up there in Paris-Roubaix. Yeah, John Degenkolb coming in with DSM, and of course, one of our favorite teams, Uno X Pro Cycling, they're going to be here as well, with a whole host of Danish riders and Norwegian riders. So look out for them as well in their very nice kit. But yeah, anyways, moving on to our favorite part of the show, and that is the prediction round. This is a very hard one to predict. Well, we don't really get anyone right except Tour of Flanders 2020. But yeah, Ewan, I'll let you go first here. And yeah, I think I can predict who you're going to place as the winner.
Well, I think this is going to be an interesting race, where we're going to see a strange battle occur. In a group of three that appear up the road, it will be between Mathieu van der Poel, Nils Pollitt, the former second place finisher, and Stefan Kung, who I've been bigging up in this preview. They're going to come into the velodrome in Roubaix as a trio. They'll sprint it out, with Nils Pollitt finishing in third place, second place is Stefan Kung, and a win for Mathieu van der Poel in Paris-Roubaix.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Kung was going to win. Oh.
No, this is the third preview in a row that I've said Mathieu van der Poel will win. It has been correct on one of those occasions so far, and I'm going to back myself on this one as well.
Well, I could just go Danish podium here, but I won't. I'll be good. I'll back the video that was made previously on the channel. So I say the winner is going to be Filippo Ganna. He's going to win on a breakaway. We'll see if that happens. Second place, we're going to have Matej Morhic. And in third place, we're going to have Christoph finishing for the sprint. So
I might have a wild card, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, to be fair, considering last year that, yeah, your wild card finished second last year. That was pretty impressive.
My wild card finished second and his odds were very, very good. But I will also give a shout out to a potential good ride from Laurens Rex of Belgium. He finished in 21st place last year. Had some good results in Kuurne, Omloop, and Gent-Wevelgem already this year. So why not for him as well? The 82 kilograms rider from Belgium.
Anyways, in this week's bonus round, we are going to say, where will Peter Sagan, the former champion, finish in this year's edition?
I don't think Sagan will finish this edition of Paris-Roubaix.
Oof.
I'm going to say it's a dunf.
Weighed down by the oil money. I think he's going to finish in 12th place. So anyways, that's it for this Paris-Roubaix preview of 2022. Make sure to comment down below who you think will win. And perhaps Ewan will be right again with his wildcard. And make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the Cycling Dane Extra. And of course, check out our various Instagrams down below, Ewan and the Cycling Dane one as well, of course. So join us as well for the stream. It's going to be an epic edition and it won't be as technically challenged as we had last year. So with that, thank you very much for watching or listening, and we will see you around.